I want to welcome everyone to the Multidisciplinary Graduate Engineering, or MGen, Co-op Information Webinar. I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes to get other attendees on. So if you wouldn't mind just waiting, I will be here. All right, again, welcome everybody. My name is Matthew Lenda, and I will be hosting today's presentation for the Multidisciplinary Graduate Engineering, or MGen, Co-op Information Webinar. Before I start, I would like to hand it over to Jeff Pengel, who is the Director of Admissions for the Graduate School of Engineering, just to give some announcements.
Thank you, Matt. Once again, welcome for everyone joining us today. Just a couple of technical notes and a couple notes from admissions before Mr. Lenda gets started with his talk. Somewhere on your screen you'll see a button for the chat function. If you have questions throughout the session today, please use the chat function. Please do not use the Q&A button. The chat function tends to work better. And as you can see, I already posted a note to you all congratulating those of you who are officially admitted to your program of interest. Some of you joining us today are still awaiting your official decision. You'll be hearing from us very soon, so thank you for your patience. For those of you who are waiting on your decision, we hope, though, that you are excited about the prospect of attending should you be admitted. And then there's probably some of you joining us today who are prospective students who are just investigating Northeastern University programs. So to you, I'd like to say that Northeastern, many applicants apply to Northeastern just for the opportunity, or in addition to the program of interest, for the opportunity to compete for cooperative education positions as part of their program. And so today, Mr. Lenda will be covering that aspect of Northeastern University graduate engineering programs. So once again, use the chat function for any inquiries that you may have, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Lenda for the rest of his talk. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jeff. All right, so let's get started. So to begin, again, my name is Matthew Lenda. I am the Faculty Co-op Coordinator for MGen Co-op Programming at all of Northeastern University's regional campuses. Those include Seattle, Silicon Valley, Toronto, and Charlotte. I am based in Boston, but I do travel quite often, at least to our Seattle campus. So I started working at Northeastern in January 2014 and really started working with our regional campuses, especially Seattle, in spring 2015. So specifically what I do, I focus on three main areas, and those are teaching a career management course for graduate engineers, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Next, advise students on searching for, going on, and returning from a co-op internship experience. And then finally, my last piece is employer relations. So I'm the person that is constantly reaching out and going to visit employers to see if they would like to bring on co-op students to work at their company. So I'm kind of that middleman in between, the university and the employers, but as well helping students find those co-op roles. So today I'm going to give an introduction to MGen Co-op, the MGen Co-op program at Northeastern. So in today's agenda, this is what we're going to cover. What is co-op? Eligibility and requirements for co-op, co-op guidelines, co-op statistics, co-op placement location, and then we're going to look at a few alumni profiles, some students that were students in the program that have gone on co-op and then have graduated and gone on to their future endeavors. All right, to begin, what is co-op? So a co-op, or cooperative education, is an experiential learning experience where students experience real-world work during their program of study. So this is very specific to Northeastern University, as we've been doing co-op since 1898. That's over 119 years. Northeastern started as a working-class night school that would allow students to take breaks during their programs in order to work in the field to make more money to pay for their classes. So as this model has evolved, it has kind of gone away from, paying for their classes, but it proved very useful for students going into the field to gain this professional work experience in what they were studying. So here we are almost 120 years later. Northeastern is a top 40 university in the United States with its Cooperative Education program as the jewel of its crown. So as we can see here, going on co-op is a very, obviously a fantastic opportunity to gain that real-world experience while you're studying, but it really expands and fine-tunes your knowledge in your respective industry. So you're going to be studying in your classes your first couple of semesters. You get to go out into the field and actually apply what you're learning in the classroom into the job and see if you do actually really like this. And then you can fine-tune if you're going to, if you want to concentrate in one specific area or come back somewhere else. And then while you're out in the field, you're developing new knowledge and skills, which is going to be helpful for you when you return to class. And then you can finish your classes with the actual field experience. And finally, you're going to grow your network. So not only are you working and learning technical skills, but you're actually, meeting people in the field, gaining connections, and could lead to future job opportunities. All right, so going into, see, got some questions here that say they can't hear us. I just want to make sure that people can hear us right now. Do a technical check really quick. Sorry about this, everyone. All right, I'm getting word that you can hear me. If some students can't hear me, try unmuting in the toolbar at the top. I don't know if that will help you or not. But we're going to continue the presentation. So going on to our eligibility and requirements for co-op. So as I'd mentioned before, I teach a career management course for engineers. So that course is called ENCP 6000. It's a 1-credit course that teaches students how to go into the field with the positive, work tools that students need to be successful, especially in the United States. So that includes creating resumes, cover letters. We're going to do mock interviews. We're going to learn how to use LinkedIn and other job searching sites, but as well really hone in your skills on the job searching side of the job search. So it's a very useful course that prepares students to go onto co-op, but as well these skills will carry over into your professional career. So it's not specific to just co-op. These skills will help you for the rest of your life every time you job search. Next, you have to have at least a 3.0 GPA. That is a standard that we set for all of our programs. You need to be at least a B average in order to go on a co-op. There's very few students that do not meet that. As if you're a graduate student, you're taking your studies very seriously, and so most of our students do at least have a 3.0 GPA, but we are very strict on that. So if you were to fall below, you would be ineligible to go on a co-op. Just working with us, we can obviously help you in certain situations. So next, you cannot have any holds on your student account, including I grades, which are incomplete. So if you do not complete a class and get an I for that grade, you will not be able to go on co-op. As well, if you have any financial holds in your student account, that will prevent you from going on co-op as well. So we want to make sure before you're going out, leaving campus and going into the work field, you want everything on your student profile to be perfectly fine. Next, you must have at least 16 credits. So that is 1 year of study before you can go on co-op. So those of you that are starting in the spring semester, you need to take 8 credits in the spring semester, which would be a full-time load, 2 classes. And then you would need to either wait until the fall to take an additional 8 credits, or you could take your 8 credits during the summer semester. There's a couple variables here, but you need to make sure that you're getting those 16 credits first, which equals 1 year of study. That is, for those of you that are international students, that is a U.S. government rule, depending on your visa. For those of you that do not have a visa or are U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or have a different visa status, that rule is dependent on mostly international students, but as a College of Engineering, we do require that students have at least 16 credits. This, kind of gives you that strong base in the program of study that you are studying. So if you are coming from a completely different field, you're having at least, 4 core classes that are related to your degree that will prove to be successful once you get into the field. Next, so we just talked about you have to have at least 16 credits before you go on co-op. If you're at the other end of the spectrum and you're about to be at the end of your program, you have to have at least 1 course left in your program to complete before graduating. So if you get to, the second to last semester in your program, you have at least 1 class left, maybe 2 classes, you need to make sure that you go on co-op before that point. It is possible to extend your graduation date. So if you did get a co-op and you have to have that 1 last course in that semester, you can push that course to until your co-op is at the until your co-op finishes. We're going to get into more specifics in co-op coming up next, but just making sure that you have 1 course left to complete. And I don't know if I said this before, but that 1 course must be on ground. It cannot be online or anywhere else. You cannot take this 1 last course during your co-op. You need to be completely finished working on your co-op, back physically on campus, either here in Boston or any of the regional campuses, and finish your last course, graduate, and then you can start your permanent job search, or start your permanent job if you have an offer. And finally, if you are international, you must have a valid I-20. You wouldn't be at the university if you didn't have a valid I-20, but just something to say, we are, when working with many international students, it's very important that we keep you guys in status of your visa. We don't want to get you in trouble. We don't want to get in trouble. So just making sure that everyone is on the same page. Having a valid I-20 is a must. All right, continuing on. Additional eligibility requirements. The co-op performance standards encourage professional and ethical behavior throughout the co-op process. So we'll learn more about this once you get into the course, but essentially we do push ethical behavior throughout our co-op process. If you are starting to search for co-op and you're starting to you're talking to multiple people anyways, you'll be applying to 50 to 100, maybe even more than that, employers. Eventually, they'll start calling you back. And then once you get offers, we want to make sure that you're doing the ethical choice and you're choosing 1 single co-op. We've had issues in the past with some students. Again, this is not everybody, but this is why we talk about ethics. Students must, students in the past have accepted multiple offers from multiple different companies, and then ultimately choose their quote-unquote best or favorite co-op offer. That works very well for the student, but then that tarnishes the reputation of that student at future employers, number 1. But number 2, it really tarnishes Northeastern's image of their co-op program if students are accepting jobs and then declining. So you got to remember that you're not only representing yourself, but you're representing the institution that you're studying at. So this is something we'll learn more about in the course, but just to keep that in your mind, that is something we do push. Next, students who are dismissed or resign from a co-op will receive a U, or unsatisfactory grade, for their co-op work experience and will be ineligible for future co-op experiences. Again, this is very rare, but you just need to make sure that once you are searching for your co-op program or your co-op experience, it is the job that you absolutely want to do. So remember, you'll be doing this for, up from as short as 1 semester to as long as 2 semesters, 40 hours a week, every single day, work days, weekends off. So you want to make sure the work that you're doing is something that you really want to do. I have many students in the past, not many students, I've had students in the past that have experienced a similar situation. They start applying to every single job that they see just because they can apply to the job. They get a call from a recruiter from the very first company that calls them back. Next thing you know, they're hired and they're working. They're 3 weeks into the program and they start to decide, you know, this is really not the job for me. I'm working on Excel spreadsheets all day long, just sorting data. This is not really what I signed up for. I'm going to quit. I'm going to go and do a different co-op now. Well, unfortunately, when that student decides to quit, again, tarnishing that relationship with the employer, but number two, coming back to my office and saying, why did you, explain to me why did you, quit your job? The student would say, this was not in the job description, I did not sign up for this. But then really reviewing that job description and seeing that the student would be sorting data in Excel spreadsheets all day long. So again, it was in the job description, and you need to be very careful when you're choosing your job. You don't want to just choose any job, you want to choose your dream job and the right job for you. Next, students must receive academic and co-op advisor approval prior to accepting a placement. So as you can see on the screen, there's 4 program directors here. These are your academic people that will be approving your co-op for whichever program that you're looking into. These are all 5 programs here. We have Dr. Cal Brugara for Information Systems and Computer Systems Engineering, Dr. Hamid Metgalchi, who is Energy Systems, Dr. Peter O'Reilly for Telecommunications Systems Management, and Dr. Thomas Collinane for Engineering Management. So when you get a co-op experience, they will be the person that are your first step. They're going to make sure that this is a good co-op experience for you. So they should essentially be, from the previous step, blocking those jobs that are just Excel spreadsheet only jobs. They want to make sure that this co-op experience will give benefit to your program of study. After that approval, then that would go to me, co-op advisor, and the rest of my team that works here in Boston, and we do the rest of the paperwork. So we're the people that will be extending your I-20, giving you approval for essentially changing all of your visa documentation to say that, yes, you are a student here, but you're going out to study at this specific company, at this specific address, for this specific time, and that it's okay to do so because of your visa status. If you're a domestic student, there's a different set of steps, but as well, essentially, you want to meet with us to make sure that we are getting you into the system and giving you credit, because this credit will show up on your transcript for co-op work experience. All right, next, the guidelines for the co-op program are as follow. Students may participate in a co-op for as short as 4 months or as long as 8 months in length. So that can be any combination. You can do 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, or 8 months at one company. The dates are flexible. Shorter co-ops may be considered. If it's shorter than 4 months or 1 semester, that gets a little questionable, and that's where your academic advisor that you saw on the previous screen comes into play. They will decide if it's a good opportunity for you or not, and then that's when we decide as the co-op team if it is a good opportunity for you to start using your CPD time. So remember, you get 1 single co-op during your course of study. So you want to make sure you're trying to use as much time as possible, that 8 months. So if you can go for at least 6 months, that's fantastic. But that's why we give you the ultimate length of 8 months. So you can see here on the left-hand side, there's a co-op calendar. So we have over here, let's see. So these are the options to do so. So a 4-month is anything in these sections right here. Those are spring semester, full summer semester, and fall semester. You can also do a 6-month co-op, which would be starting in the spring, going through summer 1, or starting summer 2 and going through the fall semester, ending in December. Or you can do an 8-month co-op, and that would be 2 full semesters. So it's either spring through full summer or full summer through the full fall semester. So there's lots of opportunities there. The start and end dates are a little strict, specifically within the spring semesters and fall semesters. We need you to realize that the maximum length of co-op is 8 months. can be nothing over. As well, you cannot combine fall and spring semesters. So nothing starting in the fall and then going into the spring. It doesn't work like that. That shows the U.S. government that you are not making credible course study towards your degree, so then you would fall out of status, and then it's a downhill thing from there. So that's why we've set it up kind of like this. There's multiple things, and we will go over all of this once you are, here on ground in class and that you are enrolled in the career management course for engineers. Next, co-ops must be full-time, 35 hours or more per week. It's a maximum of 40. Some companies do offer overtime, and that is, up to the student. It's not required at all, but you will have a full-time job during, this experience. So you need to treat it like it is a full-time job. You need to get there exactly, on the dot at 8 or 9 a.m., whichever the employer asks you, and you'll work through the end of the day. You're a temporary employee of that company for the time that you have decided for. All right, and finally, my last bullet here. There is a different co-op policy for the regional campuses. So Boston, all the guidelines I just mentioned above, including the one co-op at one company, those are very specific for Boston. Boston has a very large population, so this has worked very well for our graduate population. But something we are trying out and testing at our regional campuses is having students go on 2 co-ops at 2 different companies for a total of 8 months. So maybe doing a 4-month summer co-op at, say, Facebook, and then doing a fall 4-month co-op at Amazon. It's worked very well for our Seattle campus, and we are launching in our Silicon Valley campus as well. So this is one positive thing, maybe, going to a regional campus. You get 2 co-op experiences. So keep that in mind. All right, next, we're going into our co-op statistics. So we actively work with over 525 companies each year in MGen. This is not a stale, static number. It's possible to work with anybody. If there's a specific company that you can think of, we may already have a relationship with them, but if we don't, it's very possible to find a new company. You work with me, or your assigned co-op coordinator, and we can find you a position at any company that you want. It's a really great opportunity for you to, grow your own network, or if you have a connection at a company that, that we don't have, that, kind of forms a relationship with the university, and we can keep that co-op program going at that company then. Okay, next. Students placed on co-op in 2017. So these numbers are just in. For the spring summer semesters of 2017, we had 190 students go out. And then on the summer fall co-op cycle, we had 308 students go out. So that's almost 500 full students that have went on co-op this year. So year over year, we see a 20% increase in student placement on co-op. So every year we have more and more students being placed out on co-op, which is really fantastic. Number one, for you guys, but it's really helping, like, the reputation of these programs grow, and companies start remembering these specific programs and what great talent these students are. They keep coming back because they want more and more. I work with a lot of companies that are hesitant about taking on a co-op student, especially a graduate student. So they take on one, and then they see how great it is. My perfect example is working with Amazon Web Services. I'm sure many of you know AWS for those technical people. I had one student go on co-op there for 6 months last year who did an amazing job. And so now I have formed this partnership with AWS that wants a constant pipeline of students. So because of this one student working at AWS doing a really great job, she's opened up a full spectrum of opportunity for future students that because of her good work, she's taking on, they want to take on more of our students. So going into the specific percentage of placements for students, this varies by program. I don't have the data with me in this presentation. That's something that you can learn about once you get on campus, or maybe you can send this to you at a later time. But again, placement does vary by every single program. Some programs are super high, some programs are mid-level. Moving on, the average hourly wage on co-op is around $25. So the range really is as low as $18 to as high as, $35. This is very dependent on the company. I place students at, Amazon or Facebook making $55 an hour, but I've also placed students in supply chain roles in rural North Carolina making $10 an hour. It's dependent on what you want to do, where you want to go. I wouldn't let money drive the entire thing because, again, you're not funding your education with this, 1 8-month co-op experience. You want to make sure you're getting the experience out of it. I think of it as, pay is nice, but, it's not, what's going to deter me from taking a great opportunity at a company. Most companies do offer a competitive market wage. They know that you are a competitive student with a technical degree that a lot of other companies are looking at. So they are going to be very fair. Negotiation is open to, the student. If you feel comfortable doing that, that's something that we do talk about in the course. But most of the time you will be offered a very competitive wage that we most of the time say you should take it. And then finally, the wages are dependent on location. So again, like I said, I have placed students making $55 an hour in Seattle and Silicon Valley. Those are very, populous, high-tech cities. But again, as I said, rural North Carolina, $10 an hour, that's not bad down in that area. So, when you are looking for jobs, you will see that there are many opportunities all over. Which leads to my next slide, co-op placement location. So if you are looking for a U.S.-based job, Northeastern places students in every single state. Every single state. For multidisciplinary graduate engineering specifically, we, this past year in 2017, placed our students in 27 states and the District of Columbia this year. So you can see that little map of the U.S. down there. That is, sometime in 2017, we had a student in one of these states. So we don't only have co-ops in Massachusetts. So keep your mind open. If there's a company or a state or a place you really want to go to, think of it as like, kind of a study abroad, except you're working, a work abroad. So you may go to school in Boston, but you want to work in Silicon Valley because that's the, the tech heaven. Then there are opportunities out there that we can help you get to. If your passion or place is North Dakota, we can try and find something in North Dakota as well. Next, international co-op is an option as well. This is something that is kind of new to the graduate engineering students. We probably had a total of 15 students do international co-ops this past year. But in general, Northeastern students, including the undergraduate students, were placed in over 42 countries in 2017. So I know many of you maybe are coming from abroad, but don't limit yourself to only a domestic co-op here in the U.S. Think of it, you have studied your bachelor's degree in your home country. You've moved to America to get your master's degree. You're furthering your education in America. Why not take a co-op in a foreign country, say, Ecuador or New Zealand or the Netherlands? That only adds to your resume and how attractive you become to employers. It shows you're very, multicultural and is very attractive for employers. So as you can see on here, these are some of the companies that we have worked with. This is not all of them, but this is our big players that we work with often. From Amazon, Facebook, Google, BMW, Tesla, State Street, Apple. We have literally, if you can think of a company, we've probably had a co-op student there and we can probably get you a job there. So start thinking about what company you want to work for, what kind of industry you want to get into, and we can help you get to that place. All right, so we're going next into our alumni profiles. We've had some pretty great students. I mean, every student is really great, but these are the students from me that I've specifically worked with that have really stuck out to me in their specific time at Northeastern. So our first student here is Krishan Bhatia. He was a telecommunications systems management major, and he just graduated this past December. He got an 8-month co-op working at Alcatel-Lucent, which was then acquired by Nokia in the Silicon Valley. So he was living just outside of San Francisco for 8 full months, being paid this crazy, outrageous wage and getting the experience of a lifetime because, as you can see at the very bottom, Krish returned to campus to complete his last course and received a full-time job offer from Amazon Web Services. That's absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. He was even given the option to choose his office location. So he could choose any Amazon office in the U.S., and he chose actually not to go to Seattle, but indeed Washington, D.C. So by having his co-op experience, especially in the Silicon Valley, but working at Nokia, it really gave him a leg up over his competition that may not have had work experience or a co-op experience. All right, our alumni profile number 2. This is Sharabh Kochar. He was an engineering management major, and I chose to showcase Sharabh because he did an international co-op. So he worked for Schlumberger, which is an oil field services a company that does technology based in oil fields. So he was in Quito, Ecuador for 6 months. So he has a very interesting story. Not only did he get the job in South America, but the company paid for absolutely everything for this kid. So from flying him down, they paid completely for his apartment. He had a maid, he had a chef. They took him on excursions every single weekend, and then they paid him on top of it. So, he originally came from India to study in the U.S. and then worked in Schlumberger. Obviously, not every single company is going to treat you just like that while you're working internationally. It was a very, great opportunity for Sharabh to, have that. But once he did return to campus, he finished, his last courses, and he received a full-time permanent job offer from Integer as a supply chain analyst. So again, he staying right here, but he will actually be transferring to a location abroad. He hasn't decided where he's going yet, but the company is quite a big medical supply company that he can go anywhere in the world if he wanted to. All right, so that does complete my part of the presentation, but I do want to open it up to some questions. I'm going to open my own chat screen, so if I can answer any specific questions, let me know while on the air if I can answer anything. So does anybody have any specific questions? I do have a lot of info here. If you have, after this presentation, if you still have questions and you want to reach out, you can email mgencoop@northeastern.edu. As well, if you want to review the eligibility requirements for co-op, I do have listed there the address for the College of Engineering's graduate co-op program. And then finally, for just prospective student information, we do have our grad info page that goes over each of our programs and will be co-op soon. So right now, I'll open it up again to questions from any prospective students.
Matt, well, the questions are coming up on the chat window. I have one for you. This is a common question, especially among students who are joining our spring class. So think spring entering students specifically. Talk about some scenarios. Most students just kind of want to know how many courses they're going to take in the spring, how many in the summer, and when will they take the co-op preparation course, and when will be the first term that they can begin competing for co-op positions.
Sure, absolutely. So for starting in spring semester, you will be taking 8 courses. Those are one is a core required course, and one will be an elective course within your program of study. You do have the option right there that you can take the career management course in your first semester. Again, it's a 1-credit course. So you'd be taking 9. It is a very low, low work kind of course, but again, it's preparing you to do this. So since you are entering in the spring, by U.S. government rules and regulations, you're not required to take classes in the summertime. Summertime is the free period that students have. They don't have to they don't have to take courses if they don't want to, but if you do and you want to, start searching for co-op, you have to remember you've got to reach 16 credits before you're eligible to go out and co-op. So if you did 8 credits in the spring, plus that 1 prep course that I talked about, plus 8 credits in the summer, you could potentially be ready to go on a co-op for that fall semester. But remember, if we go back to the guidelines of co-op, you cannot combine a fall and spring semester together for co-op. So if you were to take, 8 credits in spring and then summer and go on co-op in the fall, your co-op would only be 4 months, and that would be your one and only co-op. So what I suggest to most students, and again, once you get here on campus, you can meet with your own specific individual co-op advisor, and they can, walk you through this process. But what I advise for spring students, take your 8 credits. I would take the summer off, or take maybe 1 class in the summertime, and then in the fall time, take another 8 credits, plus the prep course, the career management course, and then you'll be ready by the end of that semester to start searching for co-op for the spring and summer term. So that will give you a full 8 months turnaround time for your co-op. That's what you really want to shoot for, is if you can get the most out of your co-op program, the longest time possible, that's what's going to look, the best for you on your actual resume. You'll see, an 8-month co-op looks a little bit better than, say, a 3-month summer, co-op or internship. And maybe that's another thing I can clarify as well. A lot of people will talk about, I know right here we're talking about co-op, but you'll see on the internet there's a lot of jobs posted for internships. For us in graduate engineering, co-op and internship is an interchangeable term. So yes, these are internships, these are co-ops. These are the same exact experiences. We just use different terminology for it. Co-op usually is a longer period, that's why we've given it a different name, but since we in graduate engineering allow for shorter experiences, that includes an internship.
2 other common questions for you, Matt. One is some students who are joining us in the spring will ask us what they can do now, if anything, to increase their chances of finding a co-op position. And along with that, can students find their own co-ops?
All right, great. Yeah, these are great questions, Jeff. Yeah, so to what you can do right now to prepare, you can, let's see, I would suggest right now creating a LinkedIn profile. This is my #1 thing that I see from students coming in, not only from the fall semester, but as well the spring semester. Students don't really know what LinkedIn is, but for the United States and I guess practically the entire English-speaking world, LinkedIn is the #1 way that not only students but job searchers find an actual job. This is where all of your human resource recruiters will be posting their jobs. This is the go-to search site for these recruiters. So if you really want to start amping up your profile and to get ready for your co-op search, I would very much go on to linkedin.com and start creating a profile. For those of you that English is not your second language, or your first language, I would ask a friend to go through with you that maybe has better English, or ask someone that is a native speaker to go through your profile. You want to try and hit 100% in that actual profile, and you'll see like LinkedIn kind of walks you through what steps you should do, but really you should focus on your education. So I'd very much put in your undergraduate, university, and what your major was. If you are admitted into Northeastern and have accepted and have put your deposit down, then by all means you can definitely put Northeastern down with your program of study that you plan to study for. And then start going through, if you have work experiences, you can add your actual companies that you worked at, and you want to create bullet points of accomplishments that you've done at these companies. So what I like to say, like, a resume is a single page snapshot of what you have done in your professional life. LinkedIn shows everything else plus your resume. So list as much as you want on your LinkedIn. You don't want to be over the top, but for sure, utilizing LinkedIn is a really great tool. And that's something that we teach students in the course. That's one of your assignments. So if you want to get a head start on your assignments, I would start your LinkedIn profile. Next, looking at your resume, that's another key piece to job searching. If you've never created a resume before, now is your opportunity to start thinking about that, because a resume, which we will teach you in the class as well, a resume is your key to getting a job, especially in the U.S. Like, you need to be able to show a snapshot of where you came from, what you've done, and what you plan to do. So those two things are really, really positive for preparing for the class, or excuse me, just for your co-op in general. And Jeff, what was that second question?
Matt, the second question had to do with if a student can find and create their own co-op position.
Great, yeah. Yes, absolutely. So this is something that is very, you know, kind of unique to graduate engineering. Us as co-op coordinators, we are constantly out in the field developing new relationships with employers, finding new jobs. But that's not to say that you are only to take these jobs that we find. If there's a company that you want to work for and there's a job that you have in mind already, by all means, go for it. We will absolutely work with you to make sure that it is, you know, hitting like the standards we look for. We want to make sure you're working full-time, you're doing, you know, work related to your courses, and that you are at least being, you know, paid fairly. That is an opportunity. If you want to be unpaid, you can absolutely be unpaid, but it's pretty uncommon for students to be unpaid. But yeah, it's absolutely 100% possible for you to find and develop your own co-op job. Just work with your co-op advisor, and we will be able to help you with the nuts and bolts of it.
Another question for you, Matt. Some students are interested in graduating as soon as possible, so they want to take as many courses as they can. Can students take courses while they're on co-op?
Sure, great question, Jeff. Yes, so students can take up to one course per semester while they're on co-op. What we try to strive for during co-op is we want students to focus on the work that they're doing at the job. So remember, you'll be working at least 40 hours a week at a company. You know, it could not be so near to your apartment or to a campus or any of the regional campuses. So we want you to make sure that you're getting the full work experience while on co-op. Some students do take online courses, and again, that's one course per semester. So if you're doing a 4-month co-op, you can take one course. If you're in the area, you can take it on ground, but it cannot be during business hours. You need to make sure you're at your job. You're not leaving your job to go to class and then returning to work. So if you are taking classes, it should be at nighttime if they're on ground. Again, online, you can take online classes, but you cannot be working on your online classes while you're at work. And yes, we do as co-op coordinators check with employers to see how you're doing. If there are any issues that come up, then we'll be having a conversation with you. But again, this rarely ever happens. But just remember, if you are getting a co-op, you want to make sure if you're towards the end of your degree, you need to have at least one course left at the end of your program to be back on campus. You cannot be on co-op during your last semester at Northeastern. So just make sure you have at least one class left so you can return to campus, graduate, and then go on to your future endeavors. All right, are there any other questions out there? All right, again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to email that mgencoop@northeastern.edu for specific co-op questions. As well, you can review the eligibility requirements. You can review the eligibility requirements on the page listed on the slide. As well, you'll find links to the specific MGen co-op pages where there's a lot more detailed information if you did want to do that. And finally, for those of you that are prospective students and wanting more information on the specific programs, you can check out that link right there, coe.neu.edu/gradinfo. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And again, any questions, please feel free to email that address. And I thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing many of you on campus. Have a great day.